For almost 2,000 years, speaking about what happened at Eleusis was a big mistake, according to ancient writers. The penalty for revealing the secrets of the Eleusinian Mysteries was death. Why? Because, to the ancient Greeks, these weren't just rituals. They represented a widely believed promise of a blessed afterlife, a way to conquer the grim finality of death. This promise was so profound that some of the greatest minds of the ancient world, from Plato to Cicero, sought it out, binding themselves with an oath of unbreakable silence. And for millennia, that silence held. But what secrets were they protecting? What did initiates see and feel inside the hallowed halls of Eleusis that so fundamentally changed their understanding of life and death? Today, we're breaking that ancient silence, using the fragmented clues left behind in hymns and philosophy. And in the ruins of the sanctuary itself, we were going to piece together what may have really happened inside the most sacred and secret ceremony of the ancient world. To understand the mysteries, you first have to understand the story that beats at its heart, a story of love, abduction, and cosmic grief that forms the entire foundation of the ritual. This is the story of Demeter, goddess of the harvest and all earthly fertility, and her beloved daughter, Persephone. The tale, most famously told in the Homeric hymn to Demeter, begins in a meadow bursting with life. Persephone is gathering flowers when her eyes fall upon an impossibly beautiful narcissus. In this version of the myth, the flower was placed there as a lure by Gaia, the earth itself, at the request of Zeus. As she reaches for it, the ground splits open. From the chasm emerges Hades, the grim lord of the underworld, who seizes the terrified goddess and drags her down into his sunless realm to be his queen. Her desperate cries echo across the land, but only to hear them clearly. Hecate, the goddess of magic, and Helios, the all-seeing sun god. With her daughter gone, Demeter is consumed by a grief so powerful it begins to drain the world of life. Tearing the veil from her hair and draping herself in dark robes, she begins a desperate 9-day search, a torch in each hand, never stopping to eat, drink, or rest. The world feels her sorrow. Crops wither, seeds refuse to sprout, and a catastrophic famine grips the land of mortals. The gods watch from Olympus as the smoke from their altars dwindles, the starving humans no longer able to make sacrifices. On the 10th day, Hecate approaches Demeter, telling her she heard Persephone's cries, but didn't see the abductor. Together, they seek out Helios, who from his vantage in the sky sees all. He reveals the terrible truth. Zeus himself, king of the gods and Persephone's own father, had sanctioned the abduction. Promising her to his brother Hades, betrayed and enraged, Demeter renounces her place on Olympus. She vows that not a single plant will grow on earth until her daughter is returned. Disguising herself as an old mortal woman named Daso, she wanders among the cities of men, her divine sorrow a tangible blight upon the world. Her journey eventually leads her to the city-state of Eleusis. There she sits by the maiden well, where she is found by the daughters of King Celeus and Queen Metanira. Taking pity on the forlorn old woman, they bring her to the palace to serve as a nurse for their infant brother, Demophon. Inside the palace, Demeter's grief is so heavy that she refuses all food and wine, accepting only a humble drink. While Kykean asterisk was a generic Greek term for various mixed drinks, the one she requests is very specific: barley, water, and pennyroyal mint. She grows to love the child Demophon, and as a thank you to the family, decides to give him the ultimate gift: immortality. Each night she secretly holds the baby in the hearth fire, burning away his mortal parts. But one night, the queen, Metanira, witnesses this terrifying ritual and screams in horror, breaking the spell. Furious, Demeter casts off her mortal disguise, revealing her divine form in a flash of light. Ignorant, foolish mortals, she declares, "You who cannot tell a blessing from a curse. I would have made your son immortal, but now he must face the fate of all men. Still his name will have honor." She then commands the people of Eleusis to build her a great temple and altar. "And I myself," she promises, "will teach you the rites, so that in the future you may perform them with reverence and find comfort for your soul." This was the origin of the Telesterion, the great initiation hall at Eleusis. Demeter retreats into her new temple, but her grief remains, and the earth stays barren. The situation grows so dire that Zeus is finally forced to act. The survival of humanity and the honor of the gods are at stake. He sends messenger after messenger to plead with Demeter, but she won't yield until she sees her daughter again. Relenting, Zeus sends Hermes, the messenger god, to the underworld to order Hades to release Persephone. Hades obeys, but before his queen leaves, the cunning god offers her a few sweet pomegranate seeds. Desperate to leave, Persephone eats them, a fatal mistake. According to the laws of the ancient cosmos, anyone who consumes food in the underworld is bound to it forever. When Persephone is finally reunited with her mother, Demeter's joy is immense, and life momentarily returns to the world. But then she asks the crucial question, "Did you eat anything down there?" With a heavy heart, Persephone confesses. Compromise had to be struck. Because she had eaten in his realm, Persephone would have to spend a portion of the year, usually seen as 1/3, representing the winter months in the underworld as Hades' queen. The rest of the year, she could remain with her mother. Though her sorrow isn't completely erased, Demeter accepts. With the promise of her daughter's annual return, she restores fertility to the earth and establishes her sacred rites, the Eleusinian Mysteries, to commemorate her suffering, her search, and the ultimate reunion. This myth wasn't just a story told to the initiates. It was a drama they would seemingly live themselves. In the deeply stratified world of ancient Greece, the Eleusinian Mysteries stood out for their inclusivity. The invitation to Eleusis was extended to a remarkably broad spectrum of people for its time. The call was open to all who could speak and understand Greek, linguistic, not ethnic, requirement. This meant people from across the Hellenistic world could make the pilgrimage. More profoundly, the mysteries were open to women and men on equal terms. A significant fact in a society where women's public and religious roles were often severely restricted. Perhaps most astonishingly, the mysteries were also open to slaves. A slave who spoke Greek and met the other crucial requirement could be initiated alongside the highest aristocrats. For a few sacred days, the rigid social hierarchy seemed to dissolve, and all initiates were simply those about to witness. However, there was one absolute barrier to entry: blood guilt. To be eligible, an initiate had to be pure, meaning they could not have committed murder. This concept, known as miasma, or ritual pollution, was seen as an invisible stain that offended the gods and would defile any sacred ceremony. Before anyone could join the main event, the greater mysteries, they first had to complete a preliminary stage, the lesser mysteries. Held each spring in Agrae, near Athens, these rites served as a necessary purification and preparation. While their exact focus is unknown, it's believed they involved cleansing rituals, sacrifices, in an initial telling of the sacred story, preparing the initiate's spirit for the more profound revelations to come. Only after this first step could a pilgrim look towards the fall and the great journey to Demeter's holy site. The greater mysteries were the main event, an elaborate festival lasting roughly 10 days in late summer during the month of Bodromion. This was a monumental spiritual undertaking. And our understanding of the day-by-day events is a reconstruction by modern scholars based on scattered ancient sources. The festival seems to have begun on the 14th of the month, and sacred objects, the Kyra, were carried under guard from Eleusis to a sanctuary in Athens, signaling that the sacred time had begun. On the 15th, called the Germos, the gathering, the prospective initiates, or Mistai, assembled in Athens. The Hierophant, the high priest of the cult, would formally proclaim the rites open, calling forward all those who have clean hands and intelligible speech, and warning away anyone who was impure or had committed murder. The 16th day was for purification. The cry would go out, Kalad Mistai, to the sea, you initiates. In a spectacular procession, thousands of Mistai would head to the coast, many leading a small piglet. They would perform a ritual cleansing in the salt water, washing both themselves and their sacrificial animal, which was thought to absorb their spiritual impurities. The 17th day was likely a day of sacrifices, where officials offered grand sacrifices for the state. And individual initiates sacrificed their now purified piglets to Demeter and Persephone. The 18th day was the Epidoria, a sort of makeup day for latecomers. Tradition said to have begun when the healing god Asclepius arrived late, and the rites were repeated for him. Then came the 19th day, the pinnacle of the festival's public phase, the pomp or grand procession. Thousands of initiates and priests gathered at the sacred gate in Athens to begin the grueling 14-mile walk to Eleusis. This wasn't a somber march, but a joyous, ecstatic parade. The procession was led by a priestess carrying the sacred objects, and the crowd followed, singing, dancing, and chanting. They also carried a representation of Iacchus, deity associated with the ecstatic ritual cry, his name shouted throughout the journey. The sacred way had its own rituals. According to one popular, but conjectural interpretation, masked figures at a bridge would hurl insults at prominent citizens, a practice that may have been intended to ward off divine jealousy or commemorate a mythical servant who made the grieving. Demeter laughed. The journey continued into the night, with initiates carrying torches, creating a river of fire that snaked across the dark landscaper, reenactment of Demeter's own desperate torchlit search. Finally, exhausted but exhilarated, they arrived at the gates of the sanctuary at Eleusis. The real mystery was about to begin. The initiates have arrived. They've been purified and have walked the 14-mile sacred way. They now stand at the gates of the Telesterion, about to enter the darkness and witness what has been kept secret for 2 millennia. Before we follow them inside, if you're enjoying this journey into the ancient world, take a moment to subscribe. We explore historical enigmas like this all the time, and you won't want to miss what's coming. What happened next was protected by one of the most formidable oaths of the ancient world. To speak of the events inside the Telesterion was a capital crime. The orator Lysias mentions a man named Diagoras, who was condemned to death for revealing the secrets and the playwright. Aeschylus was reportedly put on trial because a scene in one of his plays seemed to hint at the rites. This wall of silence was so effective that no complete account of the final rituals exists today. What we know has been painstakingly pieced together from fragments from philosophers alluding to the experience, from early Christian writers trying to expose the pagan rites, and from the very architecture of the building itself. The Telesterion, or Hall of Initiation, was unlike any other Greek temple. It wasn't a house for a god statue, but a massive dark hall with columns and steps along the walls like bleachers, designed to hold thousands of people witnessing a spectacle. At its heart was a smaller stone structure, the Anactoron, or palace, a holy of holies that only the Hierophant could enter. After arriving, initiates would likely rest and fast, mirroring Demeter's fast. They would drink only the Kykeon*, the ritual beverage of barley and pennyroyal mint. Then, under the cover of darkness, they would file into the Telesterion. Plunged into profound darkness, the final secret part of the mysteries would unfold. Ancient sources tell us the rites had 3 parts. The drome, things done. The dramina, were likely a dramatic reenactment of the myth. While the specifics are a modern reconstruction, it's believed that through disorienting darkness, sudden flashes of light, and terrifying sounds, the initiates were made to feel Demeter's despair and then her joy at being reunited with Persephone. They didn't just watch a story. They experienced the emotional journey from loss to salvation. The legumina were the things said, short cryptic phrases uttered by the Hierophant. We don't know them for sure, but Christian critics recorded what they claimed was a password of the initiates. I have fasted. I have drunk the Kykeon. I have taken from the chest, and having worked, I have placed it into the basket. And from the basket into the chest. Another rumored phrase, though its context is debated, was an exultant cry from the Hierophant. Brimo has borne Brimos. Or the Mighty One has borne a mighty son, possibly hinting at the birth of a divine child. Finally came the Deiknoumena, the thing shown. This was the epoptia, the final revelation. After the emotional turmoil, the Hierophant would emerge from the Anactoron, bathed in a sudden blaze of light and displayed the sacred objects, the asterisk, Hira asterisk. What were they? The initiates took that secret to their graves. But the most persistent account from the early church father Hippolytus is as astonishing as it is simple. He claims the ultimate revelation of the Eleusinian Mysteries was this: a single stalk of grain reaped in silence. To us, that might sound anticlimactic, but to an initiate who had just lived through the cycle of loss and rebirth, that simple stalk of grain was a symbol of cosmic power. A seed must be buried in the darkness. It must die to sprout new life. In that one stalk, the initiates saw the story of Persephone, the promise of Demeter, and a model for their own existence. They saw that life could emerge from death, that the darkness of the grave wasn't an end, but part of a continuing cycle. Fasting, a grueling march, a disorienting theatrical performance, and a stunning revelation of light. For many, these pressures alone would be enough to induce a life-altering experience. But for decades, an intriguing and controversial theory has suggested another ingredient was at play: a psychedelic drug. The theory centers on the Kychion, the ritual drink of barley, water, and pennyroyal mint, Mint 1978. Banker and amateur mycologist Gordon Wasson. LSD discoverer Dr. Albert Hofmann and classicist Carl A.P. Ruck proposed a radical hypothesis. They argued that the barley in the Kychion was deliberately infected with a parasitic fungus called ergot. Ergot contains psychoactive alkaloids, notably LSA, a natural cousin of LSD. Consuming it could, in the right conditions, induce powerful visions and a sense of cosmic unity experiences that seem to align with ecstatic descriptions of the mysteries. Proponents of this theory suggest the priests at Eleusis could have learned to cultivate and process the fungus in controlled doses. The initiates' fasting would have heightened their susceptibility. The suspenseful telesterion would have provided the perfect set and setting to guide the experience towards spiritual revelation. Chemically induced vision would certainly explain why initiates were so profoundly changed and why the secret was so guarded. It would be impossible to describe the indescribable. However, the ergot theory is highly debated and remains a minority view among classicists. Skeptics raise valid objections. First, there's a lack of direct archaeological evidence. No cache of ergot-infected barley has been found at Eleusis. Second, ergot is notoriously dangerous. The wrong dose causes ergotism, a horrific condition leading to gangrene and a painful death. It would have been incredibly risky to serve a beverage that could potentially poison thousands. Finally, many scholars argue a chemical catalyst just wasn't necessary. The combination of psychological conditioning, fasting, and masterful theatrics could have been more than capable of inducing an altered state of consciousness on its own. Was the Kychion a psychedelic sacrament or a simple barley water placebo? We can't know for sure, but the possibility adds another layer of intrigue to what happened in the darkness of the telesterion. So, what was the ultimate prize for completing this arduous journey? It wasn't immortality as we might think of it. The promise of Eleusis was something more subtle, and in the context of standard Greek belief, more profound, a better, more blessed afterlife. To understand this, we have to remember the common ancient Greek conception of death. For many, the afterlife was a dismal prospect. The soul descended to Hades as a witless, flitting shade, a mere echo of its former self. It was a bleak vision of eternity. As the hero Achilles tells Odysseus in the underworld, he'd rather be a poor servant on earth than be king over all the dead. The Eleusinian Mysteries offered an escape from that fate. The initiate was promised a better place in the afterlife, where they would retain their consciousness and identity. Ancient sources testify to this promise. The poet Pindar wrote in the 5th century BC, "Blessed is he who, having seen these rites, goes below the hollow earth. For he knows the end of life, and he knows its God-sent beginning." The great playwright Sophocles declared, "Thrice blessed are those among mortals who, after seeing these rites, go down to Hades. For them alone is it to have a true life there. For the rest, all there is evil." The experience at Eleusis was known as the asterisk epoptia, asterisk, the beholding. By witnessing the reenactment of Persephone's journey and seeing that single stalk of grain, the initiate had beheld the fundamental pattern of the cosmos. They confronted death not as an end, but as a phase in a divine cycle of rebirth. The terror of annihilation was replaced with serene confidence. It gained asterisk, alpus, asterisk, or hope, knowing that when their time came, a special place was reserved for them. For nearly 2,000 years, the Eleusinian Mysteries were a spiritual cornerstone of the Greek and Roman world. Its prestige was immense. Influential figures, like the orator Cicero, claimed initiation. And it's believed that statesmen and emperors like Hadrian and Marcus Aurelius were also initiates. To be initiated was a mark of supreme cultural attainment. But nothing lasts forever. The decline of the mysteries began with the rise of Christianity. Early Christian leaders viewed the mysteries as a dangerous rival, attacking the rites as demonic and fraudulent. The tide turned decisively in the late 4th century AD. In 388, Emperor Theodosius I issued the Edict of Thessalonica, which made Nicene Christianity the state religion of the Roman Empire. Subsequent decrees outlawed pagan practices, and sanctuaries were shuttered. The historian Eunapius reports that the mysteries were officially closed by these edicts around 392 AD. The final blow came a few years later. In 396 AD, Alaric, king of the Goths, swept through Greece, accompanied by fanatical monks bent on eradicating paganism. His army descended on the already defunct sanctuary at Eleusis and destroyed it. The great Telesterion was sacked, and the last priest who knew the rites was killed, severing the line of succession that had stretched back for millennia. The silence once kept by a sacred oath now became a silence of extinction. Yet, the ghost of Eleusis lived on. The structure of its rites initiation levels, symbolic drama, and secret knowledge promising enlightenment. It's a compelling analogy for later secret societies. While there's no evidence of direct historical borrowing, groups from the Gnostics to the Freemasons show structural similarities, reflecting the powerful framework that Eleusis provided. So, what really happened at the Eleusinian Mysteries? We followed the initiates on their journey, from the procession down the sacred way to the fast at the sanctuary's gates. We ventured into the theoretical darkness of the Telesterion, piecing together the drama of the asterisk dramina asterisk, the clues of the asterisk legomena asterisk, and the stunning revelation of the asterisk dignoumena asterisk. We've considered the possibility of a psychedelic sacrament and understood the profound promise of a blessed afterlife that awaited the initiated. We have the framework, the myth, and the promise. But the central experience, the personal, ineffable moment of asterisk epoptea asterisk, or beholding, remains locked in the minds of the millions who took the oath and kept it. Perhaps the greatest secret of Eleusis wasn't an object or a phrase, but a feeling, a movement from terror to bliss, from grief to joy, from darkness to light. It was an experience that convinced them, on the most profound level, that death was not an ending to be feared, but a transition to be understood. The mysteries continue to fascinate us because they speak to a fundamental human quest, the search for meaning in the face of mortality. The desire for a secret that can unlock a better existence is timeless. The initiates of Eleusis believed they had found it, and for 2,000 years, that belief shaped the spiritual landscape of the ancient world. What do you think was the ultimate secret? Was it the stalk of grain, a psychedelic vision, or something else entirely? Let me know your theories in the comments below. And for more journeys into history's greatest enigmas, make sure to subscribe.